everyone. Welcome to our Insta Live on Feenix. My name is Tlatsetso and I am the Sustainability Officer at Feenix. So today we have something really exciting for you. We will be joined by Sophia, one of our amazing donors. And she will be telling us about why her education journey, why she decided to start a birthday campaign that would donate towards Feenix. So we're really pumped to have Sophia join us, and we would like to ask you, before we start and before Sophia joins us, we would just like to ask you to answer yes or no during our live to this question. Have you been as productive as you would have liked to be during this lockdown period? So I'm going to invite Sophia in right now to join us. And while I invite her in, I'd like you to just mellow on that question about whether you've been as productive as you'd like to, and just comment yes or no. And yeah, we look forward to engaging with you guys. Hi, Melissa. Hi, welcome. Oh, hello from Brazil. Hi.
Oh,
hi, Sophia.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, our side of the world.
Maybe it's dinner time somewhere, I don't know, but it's 7 a.m. in Denver.
Oh, wow, bright and early. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's early on your side of the world, but thank you so much for joining us and for agreeing to do this Insta Live with us. We're so excited to have you. So before we get
to be here, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, yes. Can everyone hear Sophia? I can hear Sophia. Can you guys hear Sophia? Just give a wave if you can hear her. Hi Tash, we see you. So Sophia, I'd just like to ask you, tell me about your education journey. What was your education journey like? So where did you study? Why did you decide to study what you studied? And yeah, just tell me more about your education journey.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited, and it's nice to finally meet face to face. So my education story is very much one of privilege. I was very fortunate that I kind of grew up all over the world. My family is Brazilian-American. Oh, it's nice to see all the lovely faces joining and waving. Hi, everyone. So I was very fortunate to have, we had a plant that just fell over, a really privileged upbringing. So my undergraduate university was in the United States at the George Washington University in DC. Some of my classmates are actually online right now watching us.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to the GW alumni. You know, I was able to go because my parents paid for my education, and I also got a bursary or a scholarship for my grades. So I was very lucky in that I could graduate without any debt, and I didn't have to be worried about, and in the US, student debt is a very, very big and real problem for university students. So I was very, very fortunate. And then for my master's degree, I went to the University of Cape Town, Graduate School of Business, like many of your colleagues at Feenix. And I know there's a bunch of GSB grads online, so shout out to UCT and GSB. And that was also another very privileged situation where I had been working and mostly with American organizations and earning dollars for a long time. So then I was able to pay for my master's program and graduate without any debt, which was my main goal for a master's program, so that I knew I could take on any projects that I wanted and not be indebted after university. But I am less than the 1% worldwide. Like, this is a very, very privileged position to be in. And I know that my education journey was very much stress-free from the perspective of balancing other family needs, having to make money, having to work at the same time, You know, I was one of those students that got to do unpaid internships in the US. Shout out to all the Americans or people who studied in the US that were privileged enough to do unpaid internships, which is really a horrible a horrible thing, because really it just puts people who are already at an advantage at a higher advantage. So there's a lot of complexities in the educational system that I may not have realized while I was in it, but that I've you know, been kind of tangentially aware of, and then now in the last several years far deeper into. You know, as a Brazilian, there's a lot of issues with our educational systems in Brazil. Having spent a lot of time in South Africa and Southern Africa, a lot of the issues and accessibility, and really just that, you know, education is a right and it's not a privilege. It shouldn't be a privilege. And so really fighting to make that happen has been the sort of, I guess, result of my education journey, because I know that I was not, it's not luck. I mean, it's luck where you're born, but I was very privileged. So my way of saying kind of, we need to check our own privilege and understand the ways that we can give back, and understand that the things that help us get ahead are not the same things that help other people get ahead. And those accessibilities are not available for everyone. So that's, you know, it's been my journey in terms of studying, and then in terms of these realizations. And I think being at UCT was a big one, because I was there during Fees Must Fall. So for the people on the line that don't know what Fees Must Fall is, essentially, I think it was late 2015 into 2016, and then 2017. There was a whole, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tlatsetso, there was a whole movement in South Africa around decreasing the school fees, or the university school fees, because they were just so expensive. And then other sort of parallel movements to decolonize the curriculum and really make, you know, South African universities for South Africans. And that means, you know, there's 11 national languages. Like, white people are the minority in terms of population. So we need the curriculums to be representative of that, and representative of the populations that go to those schools. So I was very much part of the Fees Must Fall movement at the GSB, which was very small, as most of you can imagine, you know, the context there. But yeah, so that's also another piece of how I started getting involved on the South African side. So I'll pause there, because I can talk for ages if you haven't noticed.
No, I'm the same, so I completely understand. But like what you're saying, so the interesting thing about Feenix is that it stemmed from the Fees Must Fall movement. So it was one of the things that came out of the Fees Must Fall movement, and the realization that tertiary education, or access to education, should not be dependent on wealth. And it had gotten, and still is, at a point where it is dependent on wealth. Like you mentioned earlier, yours was a very privileged sort of journey, but that's not everyone's story. That's not the story for a lot of
no, the majority.
Exactly, that's not their story. So we at Feenix are very passionate about access to education not being dependent on wealth, which is why the campaign #Cap the Gap came from. So lockdown happened in South Africa because of COVID-19, and we were in a situation where we started thinking, how do we help students during this time? What is it that students need during this time? And the realization was, a lot of students don't have the resources they need to be able to continue with their studies. After university said, we're going to close down the universities, but we're going to have online learning. And Cap the Gap came from that. It stemmed from that. It stemmed from us saying, how do the students that don't have laptops, that don't have food vouchers, that don't have data, access education during this time? And that's where Cap the Gap stemmed from. And we are still pushing this campaign, and that's where your birthday campaign came in. You heard about #Cap the Gap. And so I'm going to ask you now, why did you start your birthday campaign? Why Feenix? Why this specific initiative?
Oh, great question. I think before I answer that, I would love to see, I know we have, I'm seeing the people join, but I would love for the people that are on right now to let me know, like, if you were one of the privileged few who maybe had your university paid for, or you didn't have debt after graduating or small debt, like how many people graduated, were able to graduate because of bursaries or because people paid for their university and they didn't have to pay, they were out of debt, they didn't have debt when they graduated. If you could just do a yes to that or a no to that, so I have an idea of who's on the chat, that would be really helpful. And I don't know if the comments are slow on my side, but hopefully.
Yes, we would love to keep this as engaging as possible. So also, if you have any specific questions about Feenix, if you have any specific questions for Sophia, please do feel free to ask. So I'm seeing a lot of yeses.
Yes, a lot of yeses. Yes, so that's not good in the situation. Rohan has debt. Thanks, Rohan. Shout out. Well, then Feenix, this is why Feenix is important. But the fact that so many people are saying yes is the impetus why the reason why I wanted to start this campaign. So I've luckily know a lot of folks at Feenix, have known them for some time now and been involved with different projects over the last couple of years. But you know, my plan was to head back to South Africa. I came to the US to get my critical skills visa, and then of course kind of got stuck. And what I said in my sort of campaign video was, you know, I really wanted to support the communities that have been supporting me. And although I'm very new to my community that I'm in the US, my South African community, my Brazilian community, my community in Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, they have been so instrumental to keeping me, you know, happy and alive and, you know, thriving during the coronavirus. So for me, I really wanted to find a way to give back. And this made so much sense because, like many of you that answered yes, I graduated without debt. I was very privileged, and I felt like it was very much, I needed to find a way to give back, and I needed to find a way to help other people get ahead because I can be losing out right now during coronavirus, and I can be things can be stagnant for me, and I can afford, I'm very privileged that I can afford that situation. But so many people, coronavirus and this whole time is actually the difference between, you know, a college degree and nothing, or like paying, you know, for your family members' food or going to school. And I'm not in that. I'm very lucky to not be in that situation. So we can't let those people fall back. We can't let those situations happen, especially when people have invested so much time, so much energy into their degrees, into their studies. Like it looks like most of you have studied, you know how much it takes. If you went to UC, you know how hardcore it is. So, you know, we need to support these students. And then I thought no time like my birthday. Honestly, it was very manipulative in the way that I figured everyone would be coming to my Facebook page to say happy birthday. And I thought what better time than my birthday to ask for people to be involved and ask for people to be generous. And I really think people want to help. I don't know about everyone else on the call, but I'm feeling a sense that people want to help, they want to support.
Yeah. And
sometimes they just don't know how, or they maybe don't trust that the organization that they're supporting is doing what they're saying they're doing and things like that. So sometimes when it's coming from someone you know and trust, you're more likely to give. And that's what I've seen. And so in just 3 days, we fundraised almost $3,000, and now we're at $4,000. Oh, there's a bit of feedback. I hope everyone's still hearing me okay. And then we have $1,000 left to fundraise for the next 3 weeks. It's not a lot of money, but it's going to help, I think, between 13 or 15 students go through get their laptops, maybe get food voucher and internet depending on their needs. So it was very much a strategic choice on my part to do it on my birthday. But I knew I needed to find a way to stay connected to my community because it has been very isolated. I'm sure like many of you give a thumbs up if you've been isolated during coronavirus or felt away from your community. I've really felt isolated.
No, of course. No, of course, and I completely agree with you. For a lot of people, it is a situation where we feel isolated. But also, so I'm seeing like a lot of people who were commenting were saying that for their undergrad, they managed to get some sort of scholarship or funding, but people are struggling in terms of postgrad, which is amazing because Cap the Gap actually focuses on postgrad students and final year students, which is really amazing. And yes, Nyasha, Sophia has managed to raise such a lot of money. You really have, and we are so happy that you managed to use your birthday to help so many students to be able to bridge that digital divide. You may think it was manipulative, but no, we don't think so at all.
I don't think so either. It's opportunistic. I knew when people were going to come to my. But you know, I was super inspired. Is one of my friends from high school in the U.S. for her birthday, and she actually, for her birthday, she asked for people to donate to 4 organizations or 4 causes, and Cap the Gap was one of them. So I'm just very happy to see that people are getting excited about it, even though they're maybe in the U.S., they're very far away, and they're still feeling connected to these people that maybe they've never visited Africa or never been to South Africa or maybe never met a South African. They're excited to be part of something that's creating a better world during such a difficult time. So I've had several friends that have shared the campaign, and I know for a fact they've never even been to South Africa. So it's just really cool to see people get passionate about something, even though it's far away from home. And it just really shows the fact that we are all humans and we all need each other and we all need community.
Yes, definitely. And that's one of the things that we believe at Feenix is we always encourage students to tap into their community, whether it's your family, your friends. And like you're saying, there's this sense of, in South Africa, we call it Ubuntu, which means, yes, togetherness. So it comes from the saying umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, which means a person is a person through others. So it encompasses humanity, and humanity stems from community, and we always encourage our students to tap into their communities in order to fundraise for their goals, to be able to graduate debt free. And we now, through the Cap the Gap campaign, are also tapping into our communities. We're tapping into our communities, we're tapping into corporates, trying to ensure that students are not left behind because of COVID-19. And so another question I had for you is, so we wanted to ask you as well, you have been all over the world, right? You've stayed all over the world, you've been privileged enough. What is it about South Africa and South Africans that you love most?
Ooh, I saw Liana ask that. I think South Africa is such I've lived obviously in a lot of other countries, not obviously, but other countries like Africa. Of course, my master's and lived and worked in a big Cape Town and trying to get back to South Africa. Okay, I'll give an example, and I don't think there's a lot of it, but it'll come through. So as a Brazilian, the World Cup and soccer is the most amazing thing every 4 years for it to happen. The whole country comes together. People are so excited. They're so proud. There's so much energy in the streets. And I was luckily in South Africa for the Rugby World Cup. And I never really watched rugby. And I always never really liked it so much. And I'm going to get emotional because I was so impressed by the South African. And seeing Sia Kolisi give that final speech after he won, and just the energy and how excited people were and how inclusive it was. I mean, I think everyone on the team was South African, except for Tendai, I think, but he came from Zimbabwe when he was 13, so he's South African. And just seeing the energy of people and everyone coming together and being so excited and just being so proud, that reminded me of home. And, when you feel home somewhere, it's number one. So that's just a small story. I think the reason why South Africa is so special is it's so diverse, it's so multicultural. There's so many languages, there's so many places to visit. There's the people are amazing. The weather is amazing. The landscape is amazing, the biodiversity, but it's a very difficult history that we've had in South Africa. And I think in the U.S. we've had very similar situations. We just haven't had apartheid in name, but I think we've had apartheid in culture, and in Brazil also. So I think a lot of countries actually should look up to South Africa in many ways and how they've been able to dismantle some of these systems and work towards truth and reconciliation. I mean, I think there's so much that we learn. Of course, there's so much that South Africa to improve and be stronger, but I think there's such a rich history that the rest of the world really needs to learn from, because the rest of the world can't afford to make those mistakes again. So I think in that sense, from the historical side, there's such a richness. There's a lot of tragedy and a lot of pain, but a richness that the rest of the world should learn. So yeah, I think it's those two things, and honestly, like the food. I was like, recipe this week with grits that I have at home, so that was that. But yeah, food is a big one for me.
No, but thank you so much. I love the fact that you mentioned the diversity, and you mentioned also just how much there's work to be done. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done to get to a place where we want to be as South Africans, as a country. But what is amazing is seeing how important community is. So one of the amazing things about working at Feenix and seeing people donate towards students graduating debt-free is just community and how important it is. And we one of the things we talk about with Cap the Gap is that you can donate as little as 50 Rand. So a lot of times people think, in order for me to make a difference, I have to make a huge donation. But with Cap the Gap, you can donate as little as 50 Rand. I'm not sure how much that is in US dollars, but as little as 50 Rand, you can make a difference in the life of a student. You know, and these students, when they graduate, they're the ones who are going to contribute towards the workforce. They're the ones who are going to contribute towards the economy. Oh, Sophia, I think, have we lost Sophia? Oh, okay. But we really want to encourage you to donate to, oh yes, there we go, Sophia's back. We had a bit of a connection problem, but yes, she'll be joining us just now. But we want to encourage you to donate to Cap the Gap.
Sorry.
Welcome back. No, I was just telling the people who are watching that every bit counts, and just encouraging people to donate to Cap the Gap, and to not donate because they feel like they have to donate a lot. For as little as 50 Rand, you make a difference in the life of a student. That 50 Rand. Okay, so somebody says it's as little as $3. Thank you for that. Thank you for that math. Thank you. For as little as $3 US, you can make sure that a student has a laptop, a student has a food voucher, and a student has data to be able to complete their studies. Imagine being in your final year, the finish line is almost there, and COVID-19 comes and you don't have a laptop or you don't have food to be able to have the energy to be able to do your online working, you don't have the data, and that, just imagine how that can affect you, especially when you're so close to the finish line. But somebody's $3 US or 50 Rand can make a difference, can make such a huge difference in the life of a student. So we encourage you to go to www.capthegap, www.capthegapfund.org to donate. So it's www.capthegapfund.org to donate to this amazing initiative. I don't know, Sophia, is there anything else you want to say? Just to encourage people to donate, to tell people where they can find your birthday campaign as well.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. I'm not sure what the issue is, but internet isn't great everywhere in the world. So I think I got some pieces of what you were saying, Tlatsetso. Some of the things that I wanted to say too, and what I've been telling people is, I totally understand if people can't financially contribute. It's been a very difficult time. But then I would love for people to be able to share the campaign and share why it's important to them, and why education is important. And I know you guys won't necessarily support this, but some of us are stuck in places and we don't necessarily have that much connectivity with the outside world. I hope it also makes people want to work within their communities as well, to find the people that are getting left behind because of COVID and to close that gap. Because the more time goes, the bigger that gap is going to get, the harder it's going to be to close it. So we need to start working now to make sure people aren't left behind. And I think we can do that in all of our communities. And of course, there's amazing initiatives like Cap the Gap. So I really hope everyone supports that. But even beyond that, I think activism is so many things. It's donations, it's sharing, it's being there for people, it's creating a sense of community, it's being involved, it's rolling up your sleeves. There's so many facets to it. So I just hope that each of you are inspired to find the ways that you think you can contribute and then help, because to me that's what's going to make this work, right? So while I'm chatting here, I would love to hear from the people on the call, some of the ways that you're creating a sense of community and supporting your community while COVID is happening. And that might be, and I really think big, even the smallest things are huge. Picking up your friends' phone calls when they call, even if you're not feeling like you want to chat, or showing up for people when maybe you're having a bad day too, or, donating or sharing something, or even learning about something. For, those of you that maybe didn't know that much about South Africa or the educational issues, maybe it's just being here right now and learning a bit more, and that's what you're doing today. And so I encourage you to think that even the smallest things are really big. And recently, this woman that went to university with me here in the US, though we weren't really close. Oh, Rohan, that's amazing.
That is amazing. Molo Rohan. That's hello in Xhosa. So Rohan is in Xhosa.
Yes.
In his work in Cape Town. So yeah.
That's awesome. This woman that I went to university with, Whitney, she has a really cool organization in Brooklyn in New York. And she recently posted something that really hit home to me. And I hope it means something to you, all of you. It's that community is a verb. And that really hit me. That was goosebumps. I was like, it's a verb. It's not, it's an action. Community is an action. And I think it's so hard for us to sometimes get a sense of community when we're so disconnected. And I'm a huge nerd, so I looked up statistics before the call. And almost more than 50% of the world doesn't have internet connectivity right now. So if you're connected to the internet right now, or I'm sure the internet has been a huge part of surviving emotionally and spiritually during coronavirus. 50% of the world isn't connected, and then 21% men are 21% more likely to have connection to internet than women. So it's not even a digital divide by where you're from, but it's also by gender. And then for all of the Americans on the call, this isn't a problem that's just in the global South. This is a problem in the US as well. 4 out of 10 low-income families in the United States right now do not have access to internet, broadband internet, only 4G or 3G on their phone. So it's a huge problem, and internet is what's creating the connection at such a difficult time, access to information. access to community, access to resources, getting food delivered versus having to pick it up, getting information about symptoms, getting information about what's happening in your city, you know, all of these things, like we rely on internet for. So, you know, I just think, I don't know about all of you, but I know you asked the question, Tlatsetso, when we joined, of how productive you've been during coronavirus. And I'd still love to hear from everyone how productive they've been. But I haven't felt as productive, and I've had every resource available to me. You know, I've had internet, I've had friends, I'm with my sister, I have nature, I have, you know, community, all of those things. And it's still been difficult. So, and that's someone who's, those of you who've been here from the beginning, like very privileged, you know, don't have to stress about a lot of things. And it's still been hard. So, you know, I think community is a huge part of what we're trying to find ways to build at this time. Build and replicate, because now we can't necessarily go to our, you know, local place, wherever that might be, you know, a local bookstore and chat with your friends, or coffee shop or bar, or whatever it is, you know. We go to our Zumba classes, we go to our, whatever it is. I'm saying the things I like to do. But, you know, we have to find ways to bridge that gap as well. It's all about filling the gaps right now, in my view.
Definitely. And Sarah says she hasn't been nowhere near as productive since COVID began. And it speaks to a lot about what Cap the Gap is trying to assist with. So you spoke a lot about how we are privileged enough to have the resources, yet we still sort of lag behind. Now imagine for somebody who doesn't have access to those resources, how difficult this time must be for them. And then on top of that, having to add on the financial burden of university fees, not knowing whether you'll be able to graduate so that you can get a job, so that you can pay off that student loan, or be able to get a job. But what I can say is that community is very important. And like you're saying, it's a verb. It's a doing word. It's doing what you can with what you have, and helping in the way that you can. Mabel says that she had working on her phone is not easy, and a lot of our students have had to do that to be able to stay up to date with classes, and it's not the same as being able to work on your laptop. So Sophia, I think we are about to wrap up, but before we do that, is there anything that you want to say to potential funders out there, to our students, encouraging words for them during this time? Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. And this has been so lovely. I've not done Instagram Live before. I know there have been some hiccups with the technology. So thank you, everyone, for sticking around. And Tlatsetso, it's been such a pleasure to actually chat with you. So that's really fun. So I have two things that I want to sort of say. I'll start with the students. And I admire the grit and the resilience. And I know that sometimes we admire grit and resilience, and it's admiring a lot of pain and like sort of glamorizing pain. And I'm not about that. But what I want to say is that it's been really hard. I can't imagine. I've not gone through that, but we're here, and we're trying to step up in the best ways that we can to support and to make sure that your dreams come true, that you graduate, and that you join the workforce, because we'll need you after like 1 year. We need you to graduate. It's very selfish as well. We need the students to graduate. We need them to join the workforce. We need them to be productive, because we need South Africa to be stronger.
Yes.
It will only be stronger if people are getting educated, getting empowered, and joining the workforce and creating the change that we want to see. So to me, that's number one. So keep doing what you're doing. Let us know how we can help. Like, I love seeing the stories of students receiving their laptops, and I really do hope that it is making a difference. I think it is. So I just want to say, you know, that we're here and we're learning, and we'll do whatever it takes, because we're privileged and we can help. And that's the thing that we need to be doing right now, is help. So that's for the students, and I can't wait to keep seeing more of their posts. And then for people who have, who are able to give, who are wanting to participate, I just want you to think maybe back on your university days. Sometimes we forget the resources that we have during university. You know, it's a place to sleep. It's sometimes it's counseling. Sometimes it's resources like maybe free things or different resources that you might need for schooling, photocopying, all of that kind of stuff. Like just think of every little basic thing that you might need: running water, electricity, that you don't have to worry about the electricity running out. And then of course the big stuff, you know, computer labs. Like that's huge. These students are now needing laptops because they've been doing their work in computer labs using university resources. Libraries, like the actual physical libraries that you can go and look at books, open them up, read about the information, check out the books. Cafeterias and like places to have food access. These are huge things that maybe we took for granted while we were in university, that our students that are in lockdown right now have zero access to. So I would just let like that feeling sink in a bit and then ask you to help. And that doesn't mean just money. That means being part of this mission to make sure that health or that education isn't based on people's wealth. So that's, you know, sharing your story of how you got an education and what you're doing to make it a level playing field and bringing equity to education. It's donating if you can. It's being active in your communities and seeing what the needs are in the schools in your communities and students in your communities. And taking a stand. So that's my challenge to everyone who's able to do something today, is to do something, just one thing. And it doesn't have to be huge because in your mind, but it's huge for the world, because I know everyone says, oh, like every little, you know, just something small isn't going to matter. But honestly, most of the people who donated to my campaign, it was between $5 and $25 each person. And so people are like, oh, $5 doesn't matter. And I said, well, if everyone who gave me $5 said it didn't matter, I would only have $1,000 to donate right now. So that's my challenge to you, is to use this time now to find a way to do something and to be involved. So the easiest thing that I'll just suggest now is, you know, obviously follow Feenix, stay involved. And then I would challenge all of you to maybe share a story or a post on your education story and why it's important to you. Why are you here today? Like, why are you listening? Why is this important? What did you learn today? Or what questions, like what came up to the surface that maybe you hadn't thought about? You know, like I never thought about the fact that I had food on my campus the whole 4 years that I lived there. It was never like, I'm hungry, what do I do? It was like, how far do I walk? Where do I go? It's not, I'm not going to eat, right? So I just challenge you to like think about these things and find a way to do something and do one thing and tag us, because I would love to see what you're doing.
Yes.
You know, and create that sense of community. And so we know we're in this together. Yeah, I would love to see everyone's efforts and what they're excited about, what's passionate to them, and what they're doing to make community a verb, to do. Yeah, so I'll pause there. Otherwise, I can go on and on and on. But I'm just really excited to see how people step up, because I think people are just looking for an opportunity to step up. And I'm just here saying that everything matters. Don't listen to the inner voice that says it's not enough. Everything you do matters.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for joining us. So I'm about to wrap up, but I just want to say to everybody that's watching, like Sophia said, we're all looking for an opportunity to step up and to make community a verb. And here's the chance to do that. So Sophia and I are challenging you to share your education stories, what education means to you, your education journey, and tag us on Feenix. And reach out to your community, because this is us reaching out to our community. You can reach out to your communities to help cap the gap, to help bridge that digital divide, and to help ensure that students in their final year and postgrad students graduate and live the lives that they were meant to be, the lives that they would love to live. And every bit counts. Every bit counts. Like Sophia said, don't listen to that inner voice. Every bit counts. So go to www.capthegapfund.org, share our website, tag Feenix in your amazing stories, donate, and help us create that sense of community and help us make community a verb. Sophia, I am so stealing that.
Oh, I stole it. So you can thank Whitney from Sustainable Brooklyn. So, but I think it perfectly encompasses what we're trying to do. So I think steal it, replicate it, make it happen.
Well, guys, we encourage you to go out there and make community a verb. www.capthegapfund.org. Tag Feenix in your posts. And yeah, we would love, like Sophia said, we'd love to hear about your personal education stories and your personal education journeys, because we at Feenix believe in the importance of a story. Everyone has a story, and we'd love to hear what yours is. So thank you.
Thank you, Tlatsetso. This was wonderful.
Thank you guys for joining us. Bye, Sophia.
Bye. Bye. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.